So I asked for my staff to get me a guy who really knows this world. And the guy is Scott Schober, who's coming to us from New Jersey. He is a chief media commentator for Cyber Security Ventures, author of the book Hacked Again. All right. So, Scott, you've been following this thing in England. What do you think of it?
Yeah, it's certainly interesting as it unfolds. And just to maybe a couple piggyback comments on what you said there, this is really, I guess, at the proposal stage. They're putting out ideas. If you read through it, it is lengthy. They're going to review it for about 12 weeks or so and then try to fine tune it. But I kind of concur with your comments there. What scares me is if you have a governmental agency that is appointing a third party to be independent to actually review this and control this. Do you trust the government to say this is legitimate news or this is fake news? That's a scary concept to me. And the other thing that comes into play, these are really loosely tech companies, social media companies, but they're considered to fall under a different class, at least in the US. They're not media companies, even though they may be doing similar things that media reports on. So there's a lot of fine lines when we compare what's going on there in the UK to what's happening here in the United States as far as the legalities of it.
All right, but it's the same kind of pernicious presentation that decent people, fair people, object to. So that you can have a neo-Nazi website, all right, that are saying, kill all the Jews, all the blacks, anybody we don't like, all the Catholics, whatever it may be. And that website can be accessed by a 10-year-old. And I'm saying to myself, no. Now, the censorship that the individual companies, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't live in this world and you do, the censorship that they do seems to be political. Facebook, Twitter, this kind of thing. It's a political censorship. I mean, the movie Unplanned, they made it very difficult to publicize that movie, which is an anti-abortion movie. It doesn't seem like they're interested in quality of life problems, or am I wrong?
No, I think to some extent you are right. Part of the challenge right now, these companies that you mentioned, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, they really self-regulate. They've got tens of thousands of employees, and what they're really doing is looking at content. They're staring at all these pornographic images and hate speech and everything else deplorable each and every day, and they're required to remove it if they deem it offensible. And it's really at their discretion. So it's really a self-regulated...
Yeah, it's an individual opinion of employees.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. That makes it difficult.
Yeah, but what if you hire a bunch of loons? I mean, and they don't like conservatives, or they don't like liberals, or whatever they may not like, and they're using their power, and you know what power does to people, all right, to promote their own.
They also have,
go ahead.
They have another interest in mind in their back pocket. They're getting paid by advertisers for certain content. So it's a double-edged sword there. They have to be very careful what they're moderating and what they're removing as far as content, because they could very quickly lose advertisers. So I rather propose they should look at technology, should use technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning, where these systems can be trained and they can put in good filters to remove any deplorable content that is out there.
But here's what you can't have a robot do, all right? If you have a website like Media Matters, which is the absolute nadir in websites, all right, the lowest you can get. I mean, I guess that and Stormfront, that would be tied. They are basically in business to harm people with whom they disagree politically. That's what they're in business to do. I think that there should be some regulatory body that basically says to them, you hurt people with dishonest presentations, you're going to pay a huge fine. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, that should be legal. That should be fine to get them off there, fine them heavily, go after them if they're doing something that egregious, because that could really hurt people. It can harm people. I agree with that.
All right. Do you think it's coming to the USA? Do you think that kind of government regulation is going to get a foothold here?
But look at it this way, just to draw a contrast. We've got about 67 million people in the United Kingdom. In the US, you've got 327 million people. there's 5 times more social media users in the US. We eat, sleep, live on social media, unfortunately. So it warps and controls a lot of people each and every day. To have a regulatory body in the United States would be 5 times harder than
Yeah,
to do that in the
I
United
agree.
Kingdom. So
Logistic, we can't even control our southern border, and we're going to control social media in everybody's house. But I do think that there is something to be said for a government agency, a new one. And I don't like government. I mean, I know government can't do much, but a new government agency that you can file complaints with. The FCC is outdated. They don't know what they're doing. They can't control social media. They're overwhelmed. All right. But a new government agency where an individual citizen like me or you, Scott, could file a complaint backed up by data and ask for a sanction against whatever social media was putting this stuff out. I'll give you the last word.
yeah, absolutely. I agree with that, especially if it's backed by some factual information, not
It'd
just
have to be.
opinion.
Right.
Everybody's got opinions, and that's not worth anything. But the rules here, especially in the United States, really are governed more with the backbone of freedom of speech.
Yep.
So it has to be very balanced, and I think there should be a regulatory body, and there should be all the garbage taken off the internet and not allow the social media platforms, these giants making billions of dollars, to control what the content is. That's a mistake.
Scott, I'm gonna volunteer to be in charge of that agency. I just
Okay.
want everybody to know that I'm throwing my Mets cap into the arena. Hey, you're a great guest, Scott. Thanks for taking the time and helping us out. We really appreciate it.